Okay, good
All
afternoon,
set, sir.
everyone. All right, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call the Newington Anna Reynolds School Project Building Committee to order. It is June 3rd, 2021, and I believe the time is 5:21. Jeff, could you do a roll call for us?
Yes, members are asked to signify their presence or their participation when the name is called. Councilor Camillo.
Here.
Councilor Minor. Mr. Sylvia.
Present.
Ms. Stam.
Here.
Ms. Dugan.
Here.
Mr. Wetzel.
Here.
Mr. Woods.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thanks, Jeff.
Chris, Jeff, just for the record, Chris Minor is here.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, our next item is take action on the prior meeting minutes. And I would entertain a motion that we accept the minutes of the meeting of May 6th. Someone would like to make that motion? We can get a second.
I'll make it.
Anyone?
Second, I'm sorry.
All right, okay. All right, so Jeremy made the motion and seconded by Cindy Stam. Any discussion? Everybody okay with the minutes?
Good.
I had the opportunity to read through them. I think they're fine. Everybody's good?
Yep.
All
Yep.
those in favor signify by, anyone opposed? Okay. The motion passes unanimously. Next is public participation.
No public on with us at this time.
Okay. With that, we'll move on to item 5, which is architect's status report. I believe I saw Jennifer. Yep,
Yes.
there she is. Is it
Hi.
Jennifer and Paul? Both of you? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, good afternoon.
Hi. Okay, so Jennifer Mangelli, Paul Dominov, and I just wanted to briefly update you on progress that has been made during this phase. I did send out a report. Oh, there it is. That you could read at your leisure, but there's a report and it does include meeting minutes, so it's quite long, but if you wanted all the detail, we did want to provide it to you. So we did have, we pretty much kicked things off with a visioning session, which included about 35 members of the Anna Reynolds community. That was some teachers, parents, students, which was fun, administrators. There were some building committee members present too. And we held these meetings so that we could, from stakeholders and community, understand the Anna Reynolds community better and understand what goals and priorities were for this project. And that really helped us get a feel for things as we got to learn about you guys and stepped into the design. So there are detailed meeting minutes about what the guiding principles are that came out of those 2 sessions that we had. We spoke about what learning environments should be like, that the spaces should support certain things, different types of learning, social emotional intelligence, which is important now, that learning can happen everywhere, extend it beyond the classroom. Of course, we want a safe, secure facility. We need to be on time and on budget. We touched on that, of course, too. And equality, diversity, and be really supportive. It's a very supportive group. And that's one of the big things that we heard. That Wordle that if you're looking on the screen, that Wordle was created from words that we asked every participant to give one word to summarize Anna Reynolds. And those words happen to, the bigger the word, the more often they were used. And you can see it was very family-oriented, supportive, caring, all of that. That was fun. We then followed up these visioning, which was really high level. We followed that up with programming sessions with the staff and administrators on site at Anna Reynolds, so that we can really get more detailed, understand relationships, understand their day-to-day workings. We viewed arrival and dismissal, because those things, of course, are going to play into our design concepts further. In addition to programming meetings, we've also had a few other meetings about classroom audio and security, some specific things, a technology meeting about food service. Our landscape architect was out there as well. And during this time, we've also been able to visit the school either when they let out early or days off during the spring holiday. We checked out existing conditions and made sure we got a good survey of what was there in the building so that we could put our model together. And those couple snapshots, if you see them, that was the start of our getting a three-dimensional model based on the existing conditions and drawings that the district gave to us for the project. And all of the disciplines are inputting information into that model actively. Steel and plumbing, mechanical systems, and all of that. First existing conditions, and then that will help us as we formulate the concepts. So the existing conditions, visioning, programming, all of that has led us further into development of concepts. We did some concepts, of course, for our interview, but now that we know more about the building, about the community, and how things work there, we have a few concepts that we're not yet sharing with the committee. We want them to be vetted by the administrators. So we will be meeting with Maureen Brummett, Jason Smith, the principal, reviewing those concepts first to be sure that they will help with the delivery of education as being an important thing. But, one of the most important things, but of course, the concepts, there still are a couple different concepts on the table. And they may have different implications when it comes to phasing and cost. And I do want to mention that we are going to be at a crossroads soon with getting these concepts vetted, maybe a couple options, but we really need the construction manager. I know that's part of tonight's meeting too, to discuss that next step. But getting the construction manager on board to talk about how phasing is going to work with either one of these concepts, cost implications of these concepts, that's really crucial for them to be involved in that discussion. So, I just want to stress that we're hoping that continues quickly, and that you're able to get someone on board so we can bring them into those discussions. We were looking at phasing a bit. I know your owner's project manager was also looking at phasing a bit, but the construction manager is going to have an awful lot to say about that, and about cost considerations moving forward. So we are going to be at that crossroads. Other upcoming things that are going to be brought to you, possibly, I think the OPM is going to be talking to you about them too, is getting a commissioning agent on board. That's something that I imagine you'll be putting an RFP out for. The commissioning agent should be involved in the design process as well, to make sure that your design requirements, your project requirements, especially in terms of mechanical, electrical and stuff, that really is incorporated in the design, and really they'll be your voice. So commissioning agent, further hazardous materials testing. I know there's been some testing, and the district has provided us with any hazardous materials reports to date, but even though there's a ton of information, I don't believe it's all inclusive. I don't think everything has been tested, inspected out there. So I think that's going to need to happen as well. And maybe get we will need a hazardous, not from us, but you'll need a hazardous materials consultant to do design drawings and specifications that can be bid, and construction monitoring. So I'm not sure where that is at in the process, but
Well, there's already been one selected.
There's already been one selected?
Yes,
Okay, so I imagine that's Enviromed then.
yes, that is correct.
Okay, very good. So I've been in contact with Lou and I know he's been in contact with Enviromed, so we can probably connect those dots further and get what we need. There's like roof test cuts, for instance, to understand the makeup of the roof and things like that as well. Any hazardous materials in the roof. Another item that will be coming up at some point, and I don't have a good understanding yet of this, is if Newington's going to require a peer reviewer or a code reviewer in lieu of the local officials doing the full review. I know the local officials will need to sign off on the project for a permit, of course, and for state, for getting state reimbursement, getting the approval from the state to go out to bid. The local officials will need to sign off, but sometimes they do not do the full review and they hire somebody else to do so. That doesn't need to be done now, but sometimes if it's known that that's the process, we'll work with that code reviewer throughout the process, keep them informed of things so they're not reviewing the whole thing right at the end, that they're familiar with the project and kept in the loop. So
Jennifer, we have budgeted for that in this project, but I can't guarantee you that's where we're going to go. Now that we have CSG on board, we will have some discussions with the building department and make sure that it's okay with them, and we'll bring them into the loop and see which direction they want to go in. I'm going to assume yes, but until we ask them, I can't tell you that that's the way it's going to happen.
Sure.
Okay.
And another detailed thing that we're going to be, that we're working with CSG on, they're going to be coming to you with more information. They're helping out with some roof pull tests. We recommend, based on previous experience on schools of this age and everything, that pull testing is done on the roof deck so that we can understand any limitations of the existing deck. That will, potentially start to impact some design decisions and cost, depending on what those pull tests show. So getting that done up front would be helpful. But I think that CSG is going to come to you with more information. And there was a question that I had come across in reviewing the educational specifications, and I did want to bring it up, which was about photovoltaic systems. The educational specifications do mention photovoltaics, but then there is a baseline budget that has a line item that says that's not applicable for this project. And I just wanted a better understanding if our structural engineer is going to look at the potential of future photovoltaics, we could do that, or if that's off the table for some reason. I don't know.
I can't answer that, but Lou, can you answer that question?
Is
I'm sorry, I
photovoltaic, is
unmuted
that
myself.
solar?
Yeah. No, what we've typically had for our two current solar programs are the power purchase agreements. So we're just a captive customer for all power production. So we typically have had no cost investment in the actual power plant of buying the equipment and running it and maintaining it ourselves. I would presume that would be the way we would want to go in the future. That's the way that Mr. Chapman has been structuring his initiative on the town side through power purchase agreements. Certainly the structural integrity of the roofing system for what it can handle for a weight load should be evaluated. But I don't know if we would want to actually incorporate any type of solar equipment that doesn't really match with, or potentially match with, whoever we could partner with down the road for the inverters and the other conduits or tie-in to the power system for the building. So the answer is yes, it should be at least evaluated for the structural capabilities. Exactly when we want to develop a partnership on the photovoltaic can really happen anytime.
Okay. Okay, that's really what I wanted to know, if if we should still go forward with evaluating the structural system. We often evaluate and try to plan for future and for somebody else coming in and doing that. We don't, we often, because of power purchase agreements and other, I guess, contractual relationships and things, we don't always get involved in actually specifying or doing the actual equipment. But we make sure that we can coordinate and set things up so that you can do that in the future. So we'll do, one step at a time. Let's look at the structural integrity first. Okay.
Okay, and again, I think we also talked early on that we definitely want to make sure the penetrations are there through the roof for any future use down the road. Because more than likely, if we don't do it as a building committee and building project, it will be done after the fact.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. I understand. All right. Very good. I know I just, threw a bunch of things out there. Do you want to add anything? Paul?
No, I think that was a good recap. And we're working on concepts. We'd like to share what we have so far with with Maureen and her team and make sure it meets all the requirements that we understand and then bring them forward. But as Jennifer said, very soon we're going to be at a crossroads where we need to select a concept to move forward with. We want to make sure it fits within your budget, and we need the CM. We need your help. We need the CM to help guide us at this point, so we can complete the schematic documents to get a real cost estimate. So
Okay.
that's our ask.
Yeah, and we're aware of that, Paul, and I think we'll try to do our best to make sure that we pick up the step to make sure that we can get a CM on board as soon as possible, because we know
we are trying to capture those 2 summers that we've all been talking about,
right,
for the benefit of the project. And the longer, we just want to make sure we're not losing too much time up front. We need the time to get our documents nice and tight. So I'm afraid of the schedule slipping. So
okay,
that's our concern, but thank you.
All right, and again, I'm pretty comfortable that now that we have Chris and Marnie on board, that we're going to start making up some of that slippage that we had, but it will take us a little bit of time to get there, but we'll get there.
Thank you.
Is there any question? You guys are done, I'm assuming now, right? Yes.
I guess I thought I was done, but I did want to mention that the Newington Public Schools, everybody's been very helpful, cooperative, and very timely with their responses and helping us get to where we are. And I really appreciate their cooperation. It's been great. Nobody's standing in the way, and everybody's like, okay, you want a meeting? Let's get it done. And thank you for that. That's it.
Good. I'm glad to hear that, and I will make sure it gets passed on to Dr. Brumman. She couldn't be here. The adult education graduation is tonight, so they're there. Both her and the Board of Ed chair are there. So, but I'll make sure that she gets that message. Does anybody on the committee have any questions for Castle Booze or Marnie or Chris? Yes, Steve. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Woods.
Yep.
I attended a different meeting where Dr. Brummett brought up that we needed to do some early work at Anna Reynolds at the recommendation of the architect in order for meeting scheduling activities. Is there any information that can be shared from the architectural perspective of what this early work is or needed?
Okay. I'm not sure if that's referring to a question that was brought to us as far as what early work could be done that may help the project, or what early work could they do that they're interested in doing on their side, and would it impact us or the project negatively? I do want to clarify that Castle Booze did not go to the owner saying that any early work needed to happen this summer or anything like that. The only things that I'm looking for being done, I mentioned previously, are things like a roof pull test, I've already mentioned those. But when I was asked whether the district could do anything this summer or early, I was asked about lighting, for instance. Should they replace, they could consider getting, I think it might have been lighting rebates or something to do lighting replacement in classrooms and or corridors or somewhere in the building. And is that something that they should consider or could consider? And I did respond to that question. I wasn't pushing for it, but I responded to that. And I did say that my recommendation would be, and I talked to our electrical engineer as well and other people in the construction industry. And I said, I think our recommendation would be to hold off on investing in new light fixtures. We're going to be taking down ceilings and doing so much work in the school that this might not be the right time. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Steve.
Thank you. Specifically the item that was brought up in the other discussion that I was with had to do with replacing potential asbestos flooring in the cafeteria area and potentially in the lobby area that we walk into. I'm recalling, don't have actual facts in front of me, but it was more along trying to address some of the flooring aspects in those two general areas.
Sure.
But I think that you've answered my question, that you didn't specifically make any specific recommendations, and I appreciate the information you provided about the lighting. Thank you.
Sure. I am aware of the asbestos thing when we were asked, what could we do? So when that question came to us, again, I spoke to some of our consultants, our people in-house too, and I said, geez, if they were going to spend money this summer, possibly taking something out of the project scope because they do it ahead of time, what could we do? What could, is there anything we could recommend? So I did say, if there's something you want to do, maybe we should consider, but it was, I do want to say, it all required discussion, like, here's some things maybe you want to consider, but let's discuss these. So, and it did involve, well, maybe you do some abatement over the summer. If you have money and you have the means to do so, maybe you get some of that taken care of. Perhaps it would, it would help, but we're not seeking it, doesn't need to be done. I wasn't pushing for it. That.
All right. Thank you so much for the perspective.
Thank you. Thank you, Steve. Anybody else have any questions? Yes, Cindy.
I just want to clarify that Dr. Berman did not say that they were asked. They knew that they had some funding that they could possibly apply to that. And I believe she had a long discussion with Steve about that, Steve Woods about that. And she sent a memo in regards to that. So to clarify, that's not how she reported out. She said that they know that they could do these things and they offered to do those things. And then we asked her to please talk to Steve, and she did. So all that has been taken care of, I believe, with the memo and with the discussion.
Okay, and that is true. I did get a memo, and now that we have construction services group on board, I will have that conversation with them, and also bring Lou from the board in and see if there is anything that would benefit from the project by moving forward this summer. But no decisions have been made that I am aware of that anything is going to happen. But there probably will be in the next couple of weeks. Whether it's yes or no, I don't have that information in front of me yet. We don't have enough knowledge, I think, to make that decision. But we're close, I believe. So if there's no further questions of the architect, I'm going to move on and welcome our new owners project managers on board. We see we both have we have Marnie and Chris both with us today. Good afternoon, or maybe almost good evening. Now it's still afternoon, it's 5:45. Very glad that you guys are on board with us right now. Look forward to working with you. Unfortunately, over the next 24 to 30 months, But again, I think it's going to be a good project. I can tell you, we have a great committee. And when we are put to the task, we will get it done for you. So we will not be the ones to hold you up. We will make the hard decisions to make sure that this project keeps going. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to whoever wants to take the lead here, Marnie or Chris.
Yep. Well, thank you. I appreciate the welcome. It's great to be here. First and foremost, I just want to let the committee know that KBA has been wonderful over the last 2 weeks, bringing Chris and myself up to speed on things that have happened before we were brought on board. And additionally, Jennifer and I have had quite a few discussions about the things she mentioned to you tonight. And my objective has really been, how can I help? So that I sent a small agenda over just with a few items, most of which Jennifer's already given you some explanation about. The first was, you know, as we all know, the intent tonight is to shortlist the RFQs that the committee received from construction management firms down to 4. I did want to offer that at that point, if the committee feels that they want to issue these 4 CMs an RFP document, that I'm prepared to provide that. The RFP document, if you're not familiar, would the function is basically to outline the duties and responsibilities that you want the CM to be responsible for. And those services are obviously the basis of their fee proposal. So the other item that is relevant to the cost of their fee is the construction schedule. So I would like, not tonight, but at another time, to try to nail that down with the committee. CSG at the time that we did our interview and actually included in our RFP response is a draft schedule. And the RFP had indicated that the committee's desire was to have the school complete at the end of the school year, I believe 2023. And we had some thoughts about why it might make sense to have that opening or that completion at the end of August instead. And there's a couple reasons for that. Again, it's in our the logic is in our RFQ response. We don't have to go into it tonight, but I would like to, a chance to discuss this with the committee and come to a decision, because when we do ask those 4 firms for their fee proposals, they'll need to know exactly what the construction schedule is, because they're obviously because their supervision and their general conditions costs are based on the duration of the schedule. So again, that's I know your intent tonight is to get your shortlist down, and I'm here to help you with an RFP document once that's finished. Additionally, Jennifer mentioned that now is the time to get a commissioning agent on board, and we agree. The commissioning agent is involved in the design process, and again, CSG has an RFP document readily available should the committee agree that it's time to go out to bid for that service. So that's something that, again, we can get together and get over to Jeff Barron quite quickly. The next item on the agenda, the hazardous materials, just to expand on what Jennifer had mentioned. Lou was good enough to forward me all of the information he has for all of the asbestos projects that have happened over the last couple of years, actually more than 10 years, I think. And we're going through that now to try to gain an understanding of what may have been remediated in the school and what is remaining at the school to be dealt with. I think it's great to hear that you're staying with Enviromed, because they're probably going to be able to tell us that very easily, so that the design documents can take that into consideration. And again, as far as working with the committee for the abatement documents, CSG is here. So I do believe, based on our discussions with Lou, that the roof has not been tested yet. So that's definitely something we would want Enviromed to expedite, is testing of the materials on the roof as well as the flashings. Roofing pull tests, again, Jennifer mentioned that. So I've reached out to one of the more well-known roofing companies we've worked with, Greenwood Roofing, and pretty much they indicated to me that there's a firm out there called OMG. Jennifer was also familiar with them. So they are used in the industry quite often to do the pull tests on the roof. So I'm reaching out to them tomorrow to try and get a cost a budget for the pull tests. And again, as Jennifer said, the pull tests will reveal the condition of the existing roof deck. And it will also give the architect some kind of insight into what style fasteners to use for the new roof system. So from what I understand, the cost could range between $300 to, I would cap it out at about $1,000, but my intent is to get a specific, a hard number for that work to take place, and let the committee know at the next meeting. Finally, Jennifer and I have scheduled a meeting with Jason, the school principal, for next Tuesday morning to try and gain a greater understanding into how the spaces are currently used, really specifically on what grades are in what classrooms and how many students occupy each room, in order to start getting a plan together for swing space. So ultimately, the construction manager will be heavily involved with establishing the phasing sequence. But Jennifer and I firmly believe that for the project to be successful, that the design needs to take the phasing sequence into consideration, so that each section of the building, as it's renovated and brought online, will have the MEP infrastructure it needs to operate independently of the rest of the building. So we are proceeding with that meeting. So again, Jennifer and I have had quite a few discussions over the last 2 weeks, and we're moving forward.
Okay. The good news about that, the last poll you talked about, is that the technology has caught up to us, and we can do phasing in of our infrastructure for our heating and air conditioning system, you know, where 20 years ago, that probably wasn't possible, you know, 20, 25 years ago. So there are some good things as we move forward.
Agreed.
Okay, thank you for getting us up to date on your end. And again, we're glad that we have you here, and I'm sure we'll be talking on a regular basis for quite a while moving forward. I'll open it up to the committees. Chris, actually, is there anything that you wanted to cover before I open it up to the committee, or?
No, I'm good. Marlene covered it all.
Okay. All right. Yes, Mr. Sylvia, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Woods.
Yep.
This pool test, is this on a critical path, or we need to get a decision or identify the source of funding for this activity to help facilitate the request coming from our OMG and the architect?
Well, I definitely, again, would like to get a hard quote together from the company that does the pull test. I'll work with Jennifer that it's really based on the quantity of pull tests that you do on the roof. Sometimes it's recommended to be 1 test, 10 tests for 50,000 square feet of roof. I'm not exactly sure of the quantity. OMG is going to be able to help us with that. But my desire is to get a price to you for the next committee meeting so that we
Okay.
can possibly take action on it.
Thank you.
And again, this is something that we would pay for out of our owner's contingency, is if I understand it correctly.
That is correct.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff. So, and again, we've carried money for these sort of things, and we know that there are some responsibilities of the owner to make sure that we can get you the information you need to design us what we need. So, any other questions? No, I see no hands going up. So our next item is a selection of construction manager finalists. Because we brought CSG on board, I wanted to give them a little bit of time to catch up and kind of get their feet wet before we tackle this. If the committee is up to it, I think we could go into executive session and probably work through it. We have excellent firms. Actually, I was a little confused. I went through the list again tonight. There was one firm who actually applied for the owner's project manager that I'm not too crazy about, but they are not on the CM list. So I think it would be an easy task, but I will leave it to the committee. If in fact you all want to come in, we switch over to an executive session and have a discussion. Marty has put together a spreadsheet for us that she could email to everybody so they would have to follow along. What would be the pleasure of the committee or we could do it next week too. And I don't believe putting it off till next Thursday, we could call a special meeting, would be the end of the world if you feel you need more time to go through it. You know, the different CM packets that we have in front of us. But with that, I will again put it out there. Give me some direction.
Has his hand raised.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I think in the effort of just trying to keep this timeline moving, we've had the CM material for a little bit. I think it'd be a good opportunity to go into executive session and see if we can get through it.
Okay, so Chris is a yes. Maybe I'll do it the easy way. Anybody opposed? And I see no hands going up. So if that's the case, James, can you send out a link for us in an email?
Actually, you need a motion.
Yeah, I know. We'll make a motion to go into
first.
executive session. Mike, can you read that motion, please?
In accordance with,
I'm happy to read it, Steve.
okay.
Okay, go ahead.
In accordance with CSG 1206E and 1210B24, the Anna Reynolds School PBC hereby moves to go into executive session to discuss qualification statements for construction manager and invites the committee members, BOE Chief Finance and Operations Officer Lou Jacomowitz, Anna Reynolds School Principal Jason Smith, Marnie Liska and Christopher Cycli of Construction Solutions Group, and the Director of Administrative Services, Jeff Barron.
And a second from someone?
Second.
Seconded by Mike Camillo. Any discussion? All those favors signify by saying aye.
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 Anyone opposed? All right, motion passes unanimously. Now, James will send out an email with a new link.
Everybody
And-
should have received it by now, Mr. Chairman.
Okay,
Yes,
And
I have
the
it.
meeting is open.
okay. So actually leave this meeting, go into that one, and then we'll end up back in this meeting and when we're done. See you all in a minute or so.
You guys, can you hear me? This is Cindy.
I can hear you, Cindy. Can't
I
hear
actually
you.
have another commitment, so I have to sign off. And now that we did the major business, I think I can. I don't think we.
Okay.
Okay, so,
Yep.
all right, thanks.
Thank you,
Have a good-
Cindy.
Yep, bye.
Jeff? Mr. Barron?
Yeah, he's just came over. He was on the attendee side.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Hi, Jeff. Hey, Jeff, we need to make a motion for the 4 that we select, or I didn't know if a motion was necessary. Because all we're doing is going to ask the 4 firms for an RFP.
You're muted again, Jeff.
I think you need to identify who your 4 finalists are.
Correct, but do we need a motion? Do I need to vote on it, or I just need to say that we are requesting, and here it goes, we're requesting RFPs from Consigli Construction Company, Gilbane Company, Newfield Construction Group, and Downs Construction for RFPs for the Anna Reynolds, Anna Reynolds.
So moved. So moved.
Okay,
Yeah, I'll gussy it up.
Second.
okay. So I guess we're gonna do it in the form of a motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay.
Yeah, who made the second one? Who was the
Mike
second?
made it, excuse me, Steve made it and Mike seconded it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
That passed unanimously.
So, Marnie, you will work with Jeff to make sure that that goes out, okay? And any other business pertinent to the committee? Actually, I think, Marnie, if you could work with Jeff Barron, unless the committee objects, to get those other RFPs out for pricing. Anything you need to keep us moving forward, and then bring it back to us, and we'll try to take action on it as soon as we can, okay?
Okay, I will prepare an RFP and have it over to Jeff in a few days, and I'll copy you.
Yeah,
as
actually,
well.
please, copy the whole committee on the
I will.
RFP when it's done.
I
If there's
will.
drafts going back and forth, you don't necessarily need to, but once you get a final copy, then send it to all of us, okay?
Will do.
Is there any other pertinent business to the committee? Jeff, do you have anything for us?
No, you're looking to meet again in 2 weeks, correct?
Correct. And when will we request the pricing back from them? I can't imagine it's going to take very long.
I would suggest you give them, I mean, I'd like to have it in your hands for the next meeting, ultimately. So I'm going to get that RFP to the committee to review and comment on, I would say within the next 2 days.
Yeah, if you can get it out before the weekend, then I think people have enough time to respond and give you pricing in time for your next meeting.
Gotcha.
Actually, I'm surprised that none of them are listening, but they're not. We have nobody on the attendee side. That's a little unusual because they have been listening all along, and the meeting that they should be listening to, they're not. Okay, so it brings us back to public participation. And again, James, I just looked, we have no one, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Comments by committee members? Anybody have anything? If not, a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Okay,
Second.
and, okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Bye.
Aye.
Okay, good night, everybody. Thank you, and we stand adjourned. Have a good night.
Good night.
Night.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.